Going on. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great Monday night. I wanted to share with you a few of my thoughts on what's going on in the world, and that's what I'm here to do today. I'm going to try and make it super fast. Hopefully, I resonate with you. Hopefully, um, I am not the only person that feels this way, but also. Um, I'm going to go ahead and start reading actually, because that's what I'm here to do. So we're going to start reading with Matthew. Actually, no, I'm going to go ahead and start with why I'm even writing today, and then we'll get into this because I think that's a nice way to close. So on the news today was that Iran is asking for Trump's and Pompeo and Pompeo's heads, right? They're saying that they should be taken to court and they should be prosecuted, like, basically. And I sort of feel like even they know that that's kind of like unrealistic and it's never going to happen. I do have my thoughts as to why I would have rather had a different administration than the one that we have now. And obviously, most people who have dealt with or more worldly and have dealt with people, they'll know they're not. I mean, I, Iranians and Chinese and anybody who's a threat isn't very different from like the next bully here in the United States. That's how we know. That's how we know how to deal with you. That we deal with bullies, and I get it. Like the interference that has come from different countries, if that's even true, is not an excuse. And obviously, I'm not making an excuse, but I am saying that the United States has traditionally been the big brother and the police and the world police, and you don't have to pick or choose one, but I really did admire mr Mr. President Trump's response, which was, let's make a deal with him, let's make a deal with him. And I just feel that if Mr. um and let's not um uh deny it to ourselves. I mean, let's not uh, like forget that basically all politicians do is make deals for themselves ultimately, because especially these days as they're putting up walls so that nobody can even, like, you can't talk to them, you can't write letters to them, you don't know if they're going to read your letters, they're mommy dearest, and they're going to tell you what's best for you, and you're just going to and you're just going to get it shoved down your throat. That's all it is, and it sucks. I mean, there's been moments, I swear, but mainly as a mother that I'm thinking. So I am, but I have to be careful, because I know one of those like crazy moments is going to hit me again, and I'm going to think like, fuck, why didn't I do something about it before? Excuse the French, by the way. So I ran and is asking for Pumbaa and Drum's head, and we're like, no, sorry, what? And so unfortunately, the the two administrations are more, is Biden is very conniving. He's a conniver. That's why, like, I tend to relate to, like, I tend to like think of him as somebody that's like more like a con and more like a conniving person that maybe, like, in his defense, well, if people just let him get away with it, why not? And what makes everybody else so different? And then everybody just goes back to the same politics, and then everybody does this and that, and then everybody's so predictable, and then you can't really change things because then everything just because somebody as manipulative and as a con artist like that is always going to come in and be able to just play everybody for for a fool and for their own gain. So let's let's in mind because even though we as believers in Jesus know that our place is not here, our place is in heaven. He expects a whole lot of us. God expects a lot of us. I mean, he doesn't want us to. I mean, what do you think the sword is all about? What do you think it's not because we have to go and force and impose ourselves on other people and force ourselves on people like evil would do, but because when evil wants to do that to us, we say no and like no thank you, and that's the whole purpose of that. um One second, please. Oh, okay, so I do think that with the Biden administration, the deal is more it's shady, it's exclusive, it's only going to be something that it's not competitive, it's very crony oriented, it's whoever wants to be a part of his gravy train. Do you know what it might be like to be in Congress and being a legislator and not eventually folding, and isn't that like infuriating when you have like little ignorance like AOC over there like trying to get in on the gravy train, but like on a legitimate level, but that's still hoary. um I mean, she's 32 years old. We should be like protecting people from that type of scummy like, you're scum, you're corrupt and you're scum. But no, it's gonna happen, right? So that could be it's tempting. Like they're like with Trump, it was more about integrity. It's a little bit more integrity based. It's more honest based, and he's gonna hold himself accountable. Don't get me wrong. He's gonna he'll fire you if you're not up to par, but it's still out in the open and about integrity. So it's just very different because on the one hand is where blind in the dark, entirely in the fucking dark, don't even call it blindsided, we're just in the dark. I'm sorry, but I can't live in the dark because I'm waiting for Jesus. So Jesus is light, and you can't block my light. Okay, you can't block my light, just like you can't hold a strong man, and we'll get to that in a minute. um and Trump is more like God doesn't even care about money. So you just have, if you want it, you got to compete for it. You got to work for it. And it's more out in the open. There's no blocking, there's no darkness. It's all out there. And so I have to say that that's where I am. That's my comfort zone. That's not a comfort zone. That is like, it's like, um, good or evil. That's all it is. It's like you can't be evil. Like you can't turn evil. You're gonna turn evil on people if you're on this on the dark side, like on the the shadows of people. Don't be under the shadows. Be under the wings and be a good person. So that's why I'm very worried because now Iran is asking this dumbass piece of shit administration. There I go. Yeah. Did I just say that? Sorry. Um, so there goes. So they're like asking for people's heads. Like, why are you asking for? Like, why are you asking people's like? can we talk about what happened in China? And let's talk about, logically speaking, if China has nothing to hide, they would cooperate. If they're gonna have honor about it because like they feel like we're like being suspicious and we want to go check it out. It's just it's not like no, like they need a fucking like big ass fucking butt whooping. Like, sorry, but this isn't about your fucking honor, okay? This is about me fucking making sure that you're not a fucking idiot so that the rest of us don't fucking have to die. So it's that simple. I mean, it's like kids. It's like kids. Like, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, then don't get offended if I ask you not to do something that you're already not going to do because you're already not going to do it. I just happen to ask you, and then you just agree. And then we're both on the same page. But no, you have to create tension. So what the heck? All right. So I don't know. You know what? We're all made of the same thing, and we're all gonna fucking die anyway. So whatever. Anyway, so let's go ahead and read. So whatever. So let's go ahead and read Matthew 12 verses. Hold on, there was a. Let's go ahead and start with verse 29. How can anyone enter a strong man's house and steal his property unless he first ties up the strong man? Then he can plunder his house. Whoever is not with me is against me, and whoever does not gather with me scatters. Therefore, I say to you, every sin and blasphemy will be forgiven people, but blasphemy against the Spirit will not be forgiven. And whoever speaks a word against the Son of Man will be forgiven, but whoever speaks against the Holy Spirit will not. Favorite verses because everybody thinks that Christian people are people that are very forgiving and like lovey-dovey all the time, like like the flower girl hippies on drugs all the time. No, I don't have to forgive you when you're putting me down and you're trying to like keep me from pursuing a higher purpose and believing in myself and that there's and that God loves me and that he and that I can because that's abuse. It's just it's simple abuse. I don't have to forgive that shit. I'm not going to forgive it. Um but there's a different verse too about we'll get but that's a different video. Um wow, this is like it's sort of telling because I think I have to read a little bit backwards because I think that with that it's not just like first of all like I guess what the first thing that came to my head was you can't be a hypocrite and say like they had to tie you down like you can't just be you can't just like play dumb later like but that's not what it is. So hang on. So let's go ahead and start with the very top. Starts with verse 22. Jesus and Beelzebul. Then they brought to him a demoniac who is blind and mute. He cured the mute person so that he could speak and see. All the crowd was astounded and said, "Could this perhaps be the son of David?" But when the Pharisees heard this, they said, "This man drives out demons only by the power of Beelzebul, the prince of demons." But he knew what they were thinking and said to them, "Every kingdom divided against itself would be laid waste." This is actually like so like important, um like the United States, we're divided against ourselves. We'll be laid waste. We're waste. We're trash. We're trash. And no town or house divided against itself will stand. And okay. And if Satan drives out Satan, he is divided against himself. How then will his kingdom stand? So now he's saying, but that also means then that if I work for Satan, that if I'm with Satan, that I'm dividing Satan between himself too. And if I drive demons by Beelzebul, by whom do your own people drive them out? Therefore, they will be your judges. So he's basically saying, fine, like if everybody has um, its own, uh, I guess you could say, wing, not wing. What's it called? End of the spectrum. I mean, you could be like right, you could be left, doesn't matter, but you'll be divided. Not sure if that's where I'm going. Hang on a second. Therefore, they will be your judges. But if it is by the Spirit of God that I drive out demons, then the kingdom of God has come upon you. How can anyone enter a strong man's house and steal his property unless he first ties up the strong man? Then he can plunder his house. So right there, that tells me is that you have to be strong because that's the only way that you're not going to be suckered into anything between this or that. Like you're not going to be like this, like tit for tat. You're not going to be like this. He said, she said. Again, this is more like life experience kind of thing that I'm talking about. But nobody's going to be able to pull you in any direction. And that's kind of where it, and when people want to divide, that's exactly what they're going to aim for. They're going to aim for questioning whatever is at stake. Like, here's what's at stake, so you should swing in this direction, or here's what's at stake in this side. And so um but I like when Jesus says is that that's fine, but I will tell you that when it comes to God, you're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to be able to swing me in a different direction and be um, like swaying and lacking the conviction that you need, because you're going to be there for yourself. You're going to be there for me, and God's going to be there for you too. So that's what we should keep in mind about that. Anyhow, you have to think about how life is developing in a direction where you have to start thinking more about just the plain and simple. Like, how long did it take me to be plain and simple right now? I mean, that's just like so plain. It is so plain. So why would you let anybody try and use you and try and put you, like, pit you and do all these other crazy crap? So that is, I think, a really good way to end that note. At the same time, is I'll also end it with that uh, the United States probably has, excuse me, probably has done, things to like questionable, um, not questionable, maybe like in appearance, like, has appeared to be in such a, because that's what Satan's going to do. Satan's going to make it appear that way. And nobody, and I think that the United States government is very much vested in making sure that there's only a very few select that are necessarily in with that knowledge at hand, so that operations go smoothly, everything blows over, and we can all just live a happily ever after. And when, I mean, obviously, right? So um I don't necessarily want to I you know you like promote the for the United States to clear up their image or anything like that. But I do think that there has to be some sort of sensitivity to the fact that that's what's out there, and that's what's going to be out there, and that's something that is not necessarily something that's like a personal or like a true event, like driven by a true event, but it's nevertheless something that could become very real and true, um if it's not dealt with. And I think the United States has already been doing a very great job at, especially with their military members. I'm not so sure with the politicians. I think the politicians are really fucking it up, especially with this administration, because they want to do side deals. That's trashy. Do you think these people aren't decent? You can't. You have to like we have to stop like thinking of other nations as like less decent, and like we're the like moral superiority. We're not anymore. At least we can be. There's a whole lot that has to change before that can happen. Um, so let's give these people the benefit of the doubt and stay safe. And I'm telling you, either way, I am gonna die and go to heaven and be with my in my true home. So I think that's everything I had today for you guys. Let's be um positive, optimistic, but also watchful, and obviously taking care of our own selves, and not losing that sensitivity, especially with the last few years. I mean, this is crazy. It's nuts, and it can drive anybody nuts. And I know I've got that. So, alrighty, well, have a great night, guys. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.